Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, and Gronk was with me just 30 seconds ago, but he fell off the edge of the earth with Kyrie Irving, and he'll be back, I hope. I'm kind of fighting it today. Got one of these incredible spinal things that sends like sciatic pain all the way down from my back all the way into my legs. So my left leg is numb and the rest of me is dumb. And not even full of cum. So there's that. And I'm sure our older listeners can relate to that. Let's bring the Moose in. Hi, Moose.
I don't know what happened there, but
yeah, you were here, then you were gone, and now you're here again.
Multitasking, I think.
Yeah. So
it's big day over here. It's transfer day on the football market. So a lot of games going on, a lot of shit happening. So
yeah, it's just that time of the year where shit happens, I guess. Thanks,
shit is happening. Yeah, I feel sorry for Big Lurker UK because his team got beaten in the last second, like about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, so I'm sorry.
He's probably crying right now, and I don't blame him. Nobody likes to get beat by their scum opponents.
Now, you know, the obviously today you have to lead with Myles Garrett. You know, I don't understand for the life of me the takes that fans come up with. And, you know, the fact that he publicly demanded a trade when he said at the end of the season, well, you know, we'll talk it over. We'll see what the future holds, and what the organization needed to convince him, if I recall his last quote, that they were moving in a way that they would not be doing a rebuild. But like I said at the time, the rebuild is the only smart thing you can do.
Yeah.
It's the only direction you can go in. There's no other direction. It's like when LeBron left Cleveland. What you're going to do is you're going to try to bring in young talent and all that fun stuff. Obviously, he didn't see that. And whether he is privy to anything or not, he decided that he wants to be traded. And I completely understand that. It's the takes of the fans that I never understand. It's like, well, there's another one Deshaun Watson killed. And still no more Justin Tucker. You're not on the front page of ESPN. Nobody's talking about it. And you're all a bunch of fucking racists, as far as I'm concerned, if you keep bringing up this one guy. Let's not forget that Myles Garrett's been on the team for 8 years, and he's been through Baker Mayfield, and he's been through Watson and everything after
Keenum,
between the whole thing. And
Hugh Jackson.
If I worked for a company like that, I would have been gone a long time ago. He couldn't because he was locked in contractually. I wasn't, so I quit. But the fact of the matter is, nobody ever focuses, except here in our chat room, that people will comment like this, because this is the problem.
Oh, they both have, all the Haslams have to go. Every single Haslam that there is out there in the world needs to go. Do you actually have that letter that Garrett wrote available or up? Because there's one, I think, really key sentence in there.
Yeah, I do actually have this. And let's see if I can pull this up. All right. As a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man that I am today. I've loved calling this city my home. My desire to win and compete on the biggest stages, won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton.
That's it. That's the key sentence. And you know who did go from Cleveland to Canton?
That's
Joe
like
Thomas.
ripping Joe Thomas to
That is
pieces.
like that is Myles Garrett has a lot more ambition than Joe Thomas ever had, and that is purely you cannot see that as anything other than he didn't want to be the next Joe Thomas.
Well, and that
and I don't blame him. That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way it works, and we're bringing Tony the calf in. Hi, Tony. But what stood out to me is that he wants to win and compete on the biggest stages.
Well, this isn't the biggest stage when you're playing 1 p.m. games and you got Don Cricky Light and Merrill and Olsen doing the commentary. I mean, no, we're not the biggest stage.
Well, and neither are the vast majority of teams in the National Football League.
Correct.
So let's not forget that the history of Myles Garrett in Cleveland was that it started out 8 years ago, and that was the whole Baker Mayfield, the 0-16, that period
John
of time,
Dorsey.
and the aftermath of the whole wipeout of Dorsey and bringing in the analytics people and all that, and then
Antonio Callaway.
changes in coaching and all of that.
Josh Gordon.
But he knows too well that when they looked like they were getting somewhere in 2020, that wasn't the case.
They fucked it up. Yeah.
That wasn't the case at all. And followed that up with just a 8-9 season. And Baker decided to be a stud and get himself injured. And it never, for the Browns, it's one season.
Yeah.
And then 4 of misery. And 1 season and 6 of misery. I mean, that's what it is. And he knows that. He already lived through that. So people who are complaining about saying, this guy shouldn't, it's bullshit that he writes a letter like this. It's like, the Haslams wrote the letter. And it has nothing to do with Deshaun Watson. It has to do with bad decision-making by the leadership of the team. And
it's a nicer letter than I would have written had I been in the same position. I mean, for God's sake, Mark.
Yeah. Here, Cleveland. Fuck you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Give me the fuck off.
Yeah. Good news is I'm leaving. And the bad news is that you're staying. Thanks, everybody. Good night, everybody. I guess the way I look at this is that guys who are contractualized, who play out their contracts and they play hard, they have the right to go anywhere that they want to go. And if there was any indication that the Cleveland Browns would be in any way, shape, or form even contending for any of this, you'd have to be daft to think that. Yeah. So, for fans getting on Myles Garrett makes no sense. People who are blaming Deshaun Watson, it makes no sense because Deshaun Watson played football for 2 years here. It was nothing. It was just watching the ineptitude year in and year out by the decision making of the ownership of the team and the front office whiffing on draft after draft. I mean, how did they help the offense in the 8 years that Myles Garrett was in Cleveland? How did the offense improve?
Yeah, they got lucky on getting Antonio and Wyatt Teller, and possibly you could say Njoku, and then
it's all running game shit.
Yeah,
I mean, how do they get off the field, the defense, so that they can rest? And the answer is no, not for 8 fucking years.
Yeah.
You have one good surprise year from Jim Schwartz, and they figure out what he's doing, and they bombardier him. It's just a shallow way of looking at things, and I've come to expect that. And what I posted on Twitter is what I feel. When people become overly focused on one thing, and and whether it's I'm a Browns fan, and no matter what, I'm a Browns fan, and but I hate what they're doing. My life's miserable because I'm a Browns fan. If you're that, it was like that movie, The Fan, with Robert De
Oh
Niro.
God, that's a scary movie.
It
Everyone should watch that who watches this program. That you should. I recommend that highly.
Yeah, but you're not well. You got to have balance in your life. I mean, Sunday, and it's only 17 games, and Sunday's gone. You have the rest of the year, and what are you doing? You're sitting there, no, I can't believe we did this. It's like you're stupid, but you're sick. You're sick.
You need help.
Fuck this whole Brook Park thing. Fuck it. It's like you're sick. If you think about this on a daily basis, there's something wrong with you. And and
terribly wrong with him.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at AB won't trade him. They let Tucker put out his statement and not a word. Yeah, of course. This is a Cleveland problem, and it's a Cleveland problem in football because the team is bad. It was the same problem as the Washington Commanders before Snyder was booted out.
Exactly the same, I'd say.
And this is what you have.
And
you have a guy who's stiff trucking companies from rebates when he was not even but 2% in the league, and had racist employees taped about, dropping N-bombs left and right. He's a Tennessee Yahoo, and it just doesn't go over well. Who owns the team, and he's not a good man, and he's not a good businessman either. He inherited his money. Now, let me make a comparison, because the thing that makes me say that people are ill when they get stuck on this is that you have this incredible circumstance with the Cleveland Cavaliers unfolding itself.
Yeah.
And you don't care. It's like it doesn't even exist. Well, I'm a Browns fan. I'm a Browns fan. What did Monty Python call those people who were...
Oh, the guys with the towels on their heads with their hips.
I forget their names, but that's what I'm a Browns fan.
There's still people that say that LeBron James bringing a title to Cleveland doesn't matter because it wasn't the Browns.
Yeah,
they're idiots. Yeah,
it's just sick. And you got a guy in Dan Gilbert, and look, I'm not going to tell you that in the 24 years that I've been doing this, that I've been real rosy about him. As far as, some of the business practices as an employer, I was not real hip on people being recorded in the workplace and all of that stuff. That goes too far for me. I mean, you can tell who good employees are and who bad employees are without having constant surveillance on them. But a lot changes over time. And having gone through what he went through with his son was bad enough. And then having to overcome a stroke. And through it all, without me caring about, geez, if I sat down to lunch, what kind of a guy would he be? And no, because the only reason I talk about this is because of the Cavaliers. And I don't know Dan Gilbert. I will never know Dan Gilbert, but I can make a judgment based on the one indisputable fact that he brought the one title to Cleveland, and that it isn't lucky because he's put together a great basketball team again, and he's done it on a couple of occasions using the draft to his advantage, drafting the right players. And the biggest thing that Dan Gilbert did, and the reason I'm kind of digressing here about the Cleveland Browns, is that there was a critical decision that had to be made because it was obvious that JB Bickerstaff wasn't going to stay in Cleveland. But there were two guys who were vying for the coaching position. Kenny Atkinson was one of them. But the other one, damned if I can remember his name. But that other guy was who the front office wanted. That's who the front office wanted, but not the owner. The owner sat at the table and put his hand down and said, it's going to be Kenny Atkinson. And there's a guy who's not afraid to stand up and make a decision. And it could have been a great one. It could have been a bad one, but damn it, it wasn't wishy-washy. Now, was it? And sure enough, the right decision. We've got an owner with the Browns who never makes the right decision, and he insists on continuing to make them and not listening.
James Borrego, the assistant head coach of the
Borrego. Yeah. You know, what would the Cavaliers have been with Borrego as the coach? And it wouldn't have been this.
No.
You listen to Kenny Atkinson talk in all the pressers after these games, and one thing is obvious. He paid his dues. He got to be a head coach, and he got fucked in Brooklyn. They gave him a lousy team, and right when they were going to bring Kyrie and Kevin Durant and all that in, they fired him. They no, we need a bigger name coach than a Kenny Atkinson. And he disappeared, and he went to the Golden State Warriors as an assistant coach for all those years. And you know what he did? He did something that I think is the most admirable thing that a person can do. They sat, listened, and learned.
And were quiet.
And let it all soak in. And when he had a chance, he turned down a bunch of teams because he didn't want to get stuck with a shit-fuck team again where he'd lose and there'd be a reason why, that he'd be fired again. He saw the talent with Cleveland, and he wanted that job. And he has utilized everything that he knows and that he's learned since the New York debacle for him. I mean, he did a good job. He actually was slightly over 500 with a shit team, and they canned him.
Yeah.
So, I look at that and I say, great decisions being made all the way around. You hire the right coach. Then the coach creates a betterment of the previous system. And he emphasizes not the defense, because the defense is something that was there. But getting to extract from the players the desire and the tenacity to play that defense, but to open up offensive opportunities for Mobley, and and not losing faith in the Sam Merrills and the Max Struces and the George Niangs and all of that. Yeah. That takes an incredible person of character. And we don't have any character that's related to the ownership group of the Cleveland Browns.
No, they're terrible. There is absolutely not a redeeming quality out of any of them, really. Yeah.
And, it's easy to point fingers, but we're living in a time where we don't point fingers at billionaires. I don't know how we got there, because they're the people who are fucking everything up in this country. They're the ones who are fucking up all this tariff thing on a national level. This is all a bunch of personal interest billionaires trying to accumulate more money and more power.
Yeah,
Can you imagine going to Denmark and saying, "Give us Greenland"?
well, I mean, that could be a whole nother program. But out of the NFL owners, 31 of them out of the 32 teams, look at that group of people. And there are a lot of legacy people like Lamar Hunt Jr. the third, or Haslam the third, and and Bob Kraft and Jerry Jones. It's the most awful group of billionaires. You wouldn't even let half of them in your house. They're that bad. So it's just appalling.
Yeah, but I would expect more from the fans. I would expect more than just going down either a racist road or just pointing out these superficial things when the one thing that's been consistent slightly before and then with 0-16 and 1-15, now this 3-14 is Jimmy Haslam. That's the one thing, and it's not been the same coach, it's not been the same decision makers, not the same front office, not the same general manager, just him
and his missus.
And that's it. I mean, they're not good at what they do. And so there's no reason why the Browns would be good at what they do. And consequently, Myles Garrett is absolutely right for wanting to get the hell out. And he doesn't have to apologize.
He's been here longer than LeBron was the first time.
I mean, let him have what is left for him in his career, because he's proven that he's a really fantastic player. So,
his peers keep voting him these awards. It's not like it's us idiots, voting him. It's the guys he works with are voting him these awards. I mean, and he's not going to play till he's 40 years old like LeBron is. How many more years does he have left in him before he gets that dreaded injury that finally does him in?
Yeah. And then I couldn't believe it when one person was saying, and Deshaun Watson ended the career of Nick Chubb.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I hope somebody who looks just like Deshaun Watson rapes that guy's wife. That's what I hope.
They're probably not married anyway, I would imagine. But
those people. I mean, I'm so sick of the hate. I'm just so sick of it. It's like, can't we just? But everybody's fixated. It isn't enough to just kind of throw your arms up and say that, but the management isn't any good, and we keep missing, keep missing the target over and over again. We're like Khan in Star Trek 2,
or Khan down in Jacksonville. I mean, the sale closed on the Browns on the 25th of October, 2012.
Yep,
that is how long they've owned the team, since October 2012. You know how long ago that is? Anyone that was born on that day would be in 8th fucking grade in America. So that's how long they've owned this team and ran it into the fucking ground.
And Christopher Milton says that I see the prices of the PSL seats in the new stadium. It's only about the privileged few. I don't know how many different ways I can say this.
Yeah, it's not for us, Christopher.
There was a time when I was just trying to make my bones in a business. I didn't have nothing. And when I say nothing, I had nothing in the bank. And I was living in apartments. The walls would shake when trucks would go by. That was in Jackson, Tennessee, and I won't forget that. I lived in an $125 a month apartment in Canton, Ohio, and knocked on doors to sell radio advertising to people. And when I moved into that damn place, $125 a month, it was on the 3rd floor. There was no air conditioning. There was radiator heat. There wasn't even a stand-up shower, just a sunken tub. And roaches.
Oh, I gotta love roaches, man.
You learn a lot when you're young, and when you're young, you're strong, and you're willing to put up with all kinds of stuff because you're,
young, dumb, and full of cum.
yeah. But what do you do in America today when you're 50 years old and the government's fucking you? What do you do when you can't afford the basic staples of life, let alone PSL seats in a stadium? You can't even afford the price of gasoline.
Yeah, well, you go on social media and
rent.
complain about your fucking sports team. That's what you do.
Yeah. And people
And
just
that's how you feel better.
Well, I can't imagine that they ever feel better. And they're not going to feel better, because if your being happy is irretrievably created by the success or failure of Jimmy Haslam, you're not going to be a happy person.
No.
So why don't all the people who just are, just pulling their hair out, just shut the fuck up? Get on the Cavalanche bandwagon. They're for real. This isn't something that's a one season, a one and done. This team was in the playoffs the previous 2 years with a head coach who didn't know how to draw up an offensive play from out of bounds. That's the fact.
He couldn't do an inbound pass to save his fucking soul.
And there was no, and I thought it was really funny. They talked to Jared Allen after the Cavaliers whooped on the Pistons, and they asked him, what did it feel like, playing against JB? And he goes, JB, did a lot for us while he was here. He goes, but, we were out there on the court and we had a job to do. And he said, and we knew what they were running because we ran the same offense that they're running. That's all he knows. And that's Benny Bickerstaff, his father's offensive system. Right?
Yeah, that's why they got beat by us, because they're playing the same fucking plays.
So it was no wonder that the Cavaliers beat them with ease. It's because they knew the plays. When they started to run them, they knew how to defend them.
Yeah,
so,
they're the fighting Bickerstaffs, so just like the fighting Stefanskis. Everybody knows their plays, man.
Yep. I just, for the life of me, don't understand how people even care about Brook Park at a new stadium when they can't even afford groceries properly. When there's no raises at work, the hours roll into the weekends. I just don't understand it. There's no upward mobility here, unless you're some kind of a computer wizard and a software wizard. I mean, it used to be that, if you were in Ohio, you worked at, if you're in Canton, if you weren't, college, graduate, lawyer, doctor material, you could get white collar, blue collar jobs at Republic Steel. You could get them.
You could get a job as a welder, or you could get a job as a construction worker. You could get a job, building fucking highways. You could get all sorts of things.
But it isn't like that anymore. So
it isn't.
Thank you. It is the Gumbies. Thank you.
The Gumbies. Yeah. It was bugging me too. I had to look it up. Yeah.
So to me, the Cavaliers and the Browns are inexorably combined.
Only because they're in the same fucking city,
In the same city,
they're nothing alike.
But there's no excuses. Oh, it's just Cleveland. No, it's not. And it's proof. It's right in front of you that you can succeed and win a championship in Cleveland. So please just shut the fuck up. They're just negative Nellies. And when the team's going the right way, you don't follow them and you don't cheer them. And you seem almost happier wringing your hands about the ineptitude of the Cleveland Browns. And it's just a waste of time and energy. Hi, David.
Hello, Moo. How's it going?
It's going.
There are 50 degrees here today in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, it got up to 50.
A bit past it, actually. It's about 55 right now.
Really? Well, that's interesting because I haven't checked out my I have, surveillance on the house and all and cameras and all. But during the cold snap, it was really
Yeah, you want to make sure your pipes don't freeze.
yeah. Well, I mean, everything here. I'm going to do something without showing this on camera, of course. I'm going to go into my Ring app,
Oh, you pay
and
monthly for that shit.
And it's like cuckoo what's going on, because the freezing cold weather has destroyed batteries. The lithium ion batteries could not tolerate the cold.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because I've got cameras, but they're solar panels and they're not linked to a network. They're just linked to my phone.
That's kind of odd because we didn't have any issue with ours.
It's interesting because the
What's
front
Tony
door.
the calf laughing about there?
So you guys are bitching about 50 degrees, and here it's fucking 15 below out last night up here.
No, we're not bitching about 50. We're loving 50. We're loving that.
15 below, man. That's good ice hockey weather.
Hell yeah.
But I'm just looking at two of the cameras of the four are just devastated, and they just can't regain battery level, because once the lithium ion battery
once it's done, man. It's
done. And so I'm just going to bring these cameras inside. We didn't have this kind of problem last winter in Northeast Ohio, but this year is a different story. A very Arctic cold, and then
it's interesting.
Yes,
we have one camera outside on our gate. The rest of them are inside, and the gate camera we have doesn't have any issue. We haven't had any battery problem.
I for some reason it seems where it's pointing, how it's pointing, and where the prevailing chill factor is. I don't know how it works, but it's interesting.
Yep.
So at any rate, at 55, that's good news. I'm happy to hear that. Going back to the point, if you want to win, you've got a winning team now, and this team, the Cavaliers, are the real deal, and they could become, with another correct move, which is what we've been making, or all correct moves, could become a dynasty team, a team that will be a threat to win a championship, not just sneak by once, but a number of times. And the attitude of the players is different than what you see with six cheeseburger Luka Doncic. And he don't want to work out to save it. So we talked about this, about him and Jokic, both they're not going to have long careers because they're not taking care of their bodies. And it's such a strenuous game. And I know people hate LeBron because he's black, and successful, and more successful than they could ever be. But the fact is, he's the greatest player who ever lived. You just have to swallow that whole, like my dick, because the bottom line is he's great and he takes care of himself. You may not like the fact that he's a little bit overindulgent with himself. He tends to be a little bit egotistical, a little bit me first. But take a look at 40 years old, what he's accomplishing that Luka Doncic can't, because he's not
like
disciplined.
15 years younger.
Yeah. It's really amazing.
Well, do you think that's the reason they traded him? Or?
Yes.
Well, money reasons, so that they can get under the luxury tax.
Yeah, the bottom line is they saw a contractual thing coming up, and you think Luka would give a shit about the Mavericks? Fuck no. He would have gone where the cheeseburgers were bigger. He'd go to the Heart Attack Grill. He'd go to Phoenix, or wherever the team that was the up and coming team. That's where Fat Boy would go.
Yeah.
And I have no respect for him because he's so talented, and he thinks he can just get by on that. But you look at the Cavaliers and you look at the personalities of the players. They're determined.
Yeah.
I don't mean like Donovan Mitchell's a pro, but Donovan Mitchell wasn't like this in Utah.
No, he was more of a chucker.
Score first guy, and but it's sobering to end up in Cleveland, but then to end up in Cleveland with a really good team where you need to share the ball, and he's done it.
Yeah.
And he's not having his best statistical year because of it. But look at the success of the team. Evan Mobley is going to be great. He's not just going to be good. He's going to be great. He's like watching Tim Duncan. That's what he's like watching, except he's more athletic than Tim Duncan. And we're seeing him bring the ball up now and with a head of steam and go down the middle and spin and dunk.
Yeah, he can go from one end to the other and score the ball without being fucking molested in any way.
And
it's amazing.
You listen to him talk, just like when you listen to Kenny Atkinson, you listen to Evan Mobley talk.
He's very humble.
It's all about basketball. It's not about what magazines or what social media he's posting for. It's not about that. It's about being great. And everyone around him says the same thing. It's all about him working his ass off to be the best that he can be. Darius Garland came back from getting bitch slapped around last year and having his jaw broken. And he's come back and he's changed something pivotal about his game. He's rediscovered his floater.
Yep.
That he doesn't have to drive all the way into the rim and make some kind of a fancy move. He just pull up.
Yeah.
He can just pull up, for God's sakes, and just make the shot. And so his numbers, the whole 50, 40, 90, he's 2 percentage points short on the free throw front. He just continues to score, but not ball hogging.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, so you got Mitchell and you've got Mobley and you've got Garland, and then you've got Jared Allen, who is the gentle giant of the bunch, and getting him to give more of himself. And he isn't a guy that needs the ball, but it's better to get him the ball to keep him alive and awake, because he can tend, it's interesting when he's in his pressers, he's talking about the books that he's reading right now.
Yeah, he's
nerdy guy. He's, but he's a good guy and he's a team guy and his teammates really love him. And then you got Max Strus, and Max Strus, shooting the ball, he can be hot, he can be cold, but he's moving like he always does, nonstop, running around crazy, and he is selfless. He'll shoot the open shot, but he will also pass the ball, and he will jump in front of somebody and take a charge. He'll do whatever it is he needs to do. And so he's getting minutes. Karis LeVert is the one guy who I do wonder if Karis is going to be the guy traded, if there is a trade to be made. And the more I see this Cavalier team, the less I think there's going to be a trade made, unless they are just waiting for a random big guy.
Yeah, once some offer comes in out of nowhere that they're not expecting. Can I slightly divert you for half a second? I mean, we were talking about the previous show about that egregious elbow that Trae Young planted onto Darius Garland's face. Now, the other day, there was an early Cavs game, and I watched afterwards at the Atlanta Indiana Pacers game, and for me to watch the game, I have to put a very small bet, and then the bookie stream that I'm on watches, has a free stream and doesn't have all of the fucking pop-ups of tits and everything and viruses and all that. So anyway, I'm watching this Atlanta Indiana game, and Trae Young has got to be one of the most obnoxious fucking players in the entire league. He complained about every single 50-50 ball that didn't go his
Yeah.
way, every call that didn't go his way.
My dad
And
absolutely
even when
hates him.
the call did go his way, he complained that it did go all enough. He got one foul on him, and they said, "Oh, it was on the floor." No, he was shooting, and he was like went up and gathered like 3 seconds after the foul. He was bitching about that. It was a close game, and Atlanta back and forth, and Atlanta put Trae Young in for like the last 7 minutes. He ball hogged, and Indiana went out and won that by about 6-7 points.
Mhm.
And they had Ricochet, who the number 1 pick, who's got one of the most purest shots of anybody who's ever been that young and foreign in the league. And Trae Young would fucking pass him the ball.
That's
He'd be
right.
sitting there in the corner, wide open, trying to get a 3, and he never saw the fucking ball. Meanwhile, Trae Young would be 40 feet out from the basket, chucking this bullshit in, or trying to. And he single-handedly lost the Hawks that game against the Pacers.
Well, you know, it's always what you least expect. Trae Young came into the league as a cheap, you know,
And
import.
he's
copy
moaning
of
about
Steph
not being
Curry.
on the All-Star team.
Yeah. Well, he came into the league. So, oh, there's the next Steph Curry. You know, there's only one Steph
fuck him.
Curry. You know,
Yeah.
Steph Curry is a unique player, and he came out of nowhere to become basically the significance of the 3-point shot went up on his watch. God knows, 50%. You know,
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
expectations that you had to shoot threes and you had to learn how to shoot threes. You can thank Steph Curry for that. And, you know, so then it was like Giannis coming into the league at 19 and then getting big and strong. And then just, you know, a guy who can dribble the ball the length of the court and take you to the hole and or pass the ball off. He can rebound. He can do it all. So everyone said that is the next profile. All right. And what it's going to be is the next generation of big men. So the big man who can not only handle the ball, but can shoot the 3. And so you were seeing Chet Holmgren before he got hurt and, you know, putting up threes, and you're seeing guys who are 7 foot tall, you know, living behind the arc. You saw Brook Lopez learn how to shoot a 3. So that as he got older, that he was still able to be vital in the league.
Myles Turner is one of the ones.
Yeah.
Huh?
Myles Turner is another
Myles
one.
Turner, the Pacers.
Yeah. I mean, it's extended careers, but the game has changed. But now something has really changed. All right. And everything that has happened in the last since the, you know, the Golden State Warriors and West Coast, you know, the Western Conference
8
basketball,
years ago.
up and down, up and down, up and down, fire up threes. You got Klay Thompson, you got Steph Curry. You know, it was bam, bam, bam. You know, so everybody's saying you got to be able to have everybody in the floor shooting threes, and your pace of play became such an incredible thing, and you couldn't just clog up the floor with big men.
Yeah.
Well, Cavaliers have kind of made people change their minds. It's like when Bickerstaff was here, it's like, well, there's no way that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley can coexist. Well, yeah, there was. You just have to know how to use them, and you have to have the faith in Evan Mobley to be able to demonstrate the skills that he has. And, you know, you don't want Jared Allen shooting threes, but you can have those two men out there and, you know, dominate in the paint.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons the Mavericks were talking about, well, we're bringing in Anthony Davis because defense is important, and look what that'll do for us. We'll have 2 bigs on the floor at the same time. And I'm going, what? Am I hearing right? That Cleveland,
model
Ohio.
I believe it's a model now.
Yeah.
But the future of the league now looks like it's Wembyana, it's Mobley, it's Ricochet, it's these tall kids that are young and are getting bigger, and they can shoot threes and they can play down low too.
Yeah.
As
There's
far as
another
baseball,
trade. You see, Wemby got his running mate now, and De'Aaron Fox.
Sacramento.
Oh.
De'Aaron Fox, will, and that will again stretch the floor. But people are going to see that the change, the physical change, if Wembanyama can last with those skinny legs, okay? That's the question, because it's the big Rick Smits question. It's the question that has plagued so many Zydrunas Ilgauskises in the past is, can a man that tall, can their lower body
Ralph
withstand
Sampson.
the up and down of the game? And we're going to see about Wemby. But yeah, that spreads out the floor, but he has to get stronger. But it's not just stronger up top. He's got to get stronger in his legs and stronger all over. And that's an important part of the process. As far as
last night, sorry, I'm going to go off on another rant here. I was watching the Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. And this was after the Cavs game last night. And the Celtics came out and they looked absolutely disinterested, poor, bad. I don't know whether you guys saw that game, but they had like 44 points.
Tatum couldn't hit the broadside of the bar.
Yeah, they were all awful. White was missing shit. I mean, they got 44 points in the first half. In the third quarter, they were like down by 26. And then the refs started giving the Celtics the 50-50 calls. They did that technical foul on Yabusele holding onto the rim, and then there was another call that was like a 50-50 call, and then there was another call, and then suddenly the Celtics started hitting shots, and then Tatum, who went from having 10 points in the game, suddenly blew up and ended up with 35, and
they won by like 10.
Yeah, they won by 8 points, and the 76ers choked in front of their half home fans, and the other half of the crowd was fucking Celtics fans there. But
I mean, the thing about the Celtics, they've proven they can win. They're the favorites. I get it. And if you are lucky and fortunate and hardworking enough to get to the point where you play them in the finals, because that'll be, or not in the finals, but in the finals of the East, it's going to be them. They're going to be one of the two teams. The league's already decided that. And
we play them tomorrow, God damn it, and we're gonna fucking beat their ass, I think, because I think they're very beatable.
Well, I mean, we're gonna see what happens when they play a team where they know they got to get up for it, as opposed to an Embiid-less 76.
They scored 74 points in the third quarter. Partially referee assisted. It was an unbelievable game.
So. As far as base player 1966, Brock Purdy means nothing to me. He's an underpowered arm.
And we've had so many Brock Purdys in Cleveland. They look better.
It would be like
49ers.
if you put Brian Sipe in the NFL today. I mean, you got to be able to get the ball there quicker, and don't need that. And he hasn't proven that he can really get it done on any particular level. And with the offensive line Cleveland has, he'd get hurt.
Well, for Garrett to go to contender, then we're going to get poor draft picks anyway. So what does that matter? We're going to get a draft pick in the last, 24 to 32.
Yeah, and his wife just paid $10 for 18 eggs at Costco, but now she can get pregnant.
Yeah, you want to fertilize.
It was a fertilization joke.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, and get a free scan at preborn. Have you heard those adverts? Jesus.
C. Martin, the stupid Luka trade. Well, I mean, the stupid Luka trade is always getting somebody that you need to get out to Los Angeles. The league, and I can say this with certainty. The strategy of the league office hasn't changed since the 1980s. And this is why viewership is down in the NBA, because the teams that traditionally, I mean, you're watching Golden State go to hell, and that's done. And the Lakers are, they got Austin Reeves, they got LeBron James, they got some decent players, but they got some bozos there too.
The league will not let the Lakers become the Wizards. period.
Well, I mean, no matter how hard Jeannie Buss tries to destroy that organization, they keep feeding her. And, so everybody ends up going there, and that's fine. But if he doesn't get himself in better shape, Luka Doncic is not going to help them. He's going to put up points. But what kind of defense could you play when you're a fucking lard ass?
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
So,
how many people remember that the Lakers actually started off in Minnesota? That's why they have the name the Lakers.
The Minneapolis Lakers.
Exactly, the Minneapolis Lakers.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's like the Celtics and the Lakers and the Warriors, they still talk about because they were a great team. Nobody talks about San Antonio anymore, even though they were greater in my mind than the Warriors were. And so, and the Bucks keep coming up because they won. They're trying to reach out and desperately grab hold of something. They just, and they're looking to, what they're really doing is trying to get the game and ownership into Europe.
Yeah.
Because so many good European players.
500% there. I mean, there's going to be more games over here.
That's their market. That's what they're going for.
Yeah.
And,
speaking of which, Roger Goodell has mentioned that he does see potential of a franchise being international in the near future.
The other thing they've said is, the other thing they've said is that they're really thinking about playing games in fucking Australia. Have you seen that?
Yeah, they got a game scheduled in 2026.
That is fucked up. That is you're gonna need like 3 weeks off on the other side of that to go
Jaguars versus Browns live at 2 a.m. in the U.S. Like what?
But the NBA is really got a problem because they've got to accept a reality. And that reality is if they stay healthy and they make one more good move, that the Cleveland Cavaliers are part and a big part of the near future.
Of their future of the league.
That's right. And they better come to accept 100%. It because the more they keep feeding an old LeBron James-led Lakers team, the more they're just missing the mark. And, they're saying, well, people don't care about Cleveland. Well, then get them out of the league. You're the ones who brought these franchises in. You just can't let the Cavaliers and the Pacers and the Kings. There's so many more. I looked up a statistic that was absolutely incredible. Listen to this about the NBA. Here's the Eastern Conference, okay?
Right.
You have Cleveland and Boston, New York, Indiana, Milwaukee, and Miami. Those are the teams. And of those, Miami's a favorite of the NBA. Milwaukee is a favorite of the NBA. The Knicks, God only knows, are the favorites. Boston, yes. But look at the facts of this. The Cavaliers are 24-3 at home and 16-6 away from home.
Yeah.
The Celtics are 16-9 at home, but 19-6 on the road because they're focused in more. The Knicks are 17-9 and 15-8 away. But after that, listen to this. The Indiana Pacers, who are fourth in the East, are 14-7 at home, 12-12 away, 500. Milwaukee is 16-8 at home and 9-13, a losing record on the road. Miami is 12-10 at home and 11-13. The Detroit Pistons are 12-11 and 13-13. These are 500 basketball teams, folks. The Orlando Magic are 15-9 at home, but 9-17 on the road. The Atlanta team is 11-11 at home and 11-15 on the road. And the Bulls are 9-16 at home, God help their fans, and 12-13 on the road. What I'm telling you is there are only 1, 2, 3 teams with a better than 500 record on the road in the Eastern Conference.
Correct.
Now, what does that tell you? These teams aren't very good. And if you refuse to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're missing the league.
Yeah, you have nothing to talk about because you're talking about bullshit.
And
Yeah,
look,
absolutely.
and again, look at the Western Conference. OKC's 20-3 at home, 17-6 away. Memphis is 20-5 at home and 13-11, barely over 500 on the road. Houston is the real deal, 15-8 at home, 17-7 away. That's why they're a threat. Denver is 14-8 and then 16-11 away. After that, the Lakers, I'll just do their away record, 12-13. The Clippers, 11-13. The Timberwolves, believe it or not, are 15-11 on the road and 12-11 at home. So they actually have a winning record, but basically we're talking about 500 teams here. 10-14 for the Phoenix Suns, they're seventh. Dallas is 12-14, and Sacramento 11-12. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 teams in the Western Conference who are better than 500 on the road.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of teams that aren't very good.
Oop.
So there you have it.
Well, the league needs to start promoting Cleveland some more because we're going to be there in June.
But this is why they're so dragged down by the whole thing, because a blind man could see what's happening, but their marketing isn't adjusting to the reality of this.
Well, it's like your radio station stories where you see the formats changing in real life, but the radio station doesn't want to change over because it's afraid to do it, So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. The format of the NBA is changing. So I mean, they had a long time to adjust when Michael Jordan retired and the Chicago Bulls went straight into the shitter and have never returned from there.
And Luka Doncic's father is complaining, so he's like Kyrie Irving's father.
Is he like OBJ's father too?
Yes, and so it goes, and so it goes. I mean, fuck the fat fuck. The guy is 6'7" and 270 pounds, and it ain't muscle. Never has more been said about less. The guy's played 22 games this year. Give me a break.
Wow.
Yeah. So the last thing that I want to mention, all right, is, and I don't have time to finish this and talk about it, but it's the story now that is cresting over the horizon. They've obviously decided to just allow Justin Tucker, to do what he did and not pay a price. Now emails are available that detail the New Orleans Saints' assistance to the New Orleans Archdiocese in sexual abuse scandals. That's right. Fucking little boys, and the Saints ownership supported them. Gonna get any publicity? Fucking children?
There you go.
Bountygate franchise.
To me, it's pathetic. The whole thing is pathetic. I mean, they actually sprung priests from the archdiocese who were fucking boys. They sprung them. They got them pardons. You don't hear any of the MAGA people talking about this. How about that for a pardon? But this is the story that should be the biggest story of all, because it's the billionaires supporting pedophilia. Amazing, isn't it? And they're like, well, no, we didn't know we were doing. I'm just so tired of the whole thing. I'm tired of the priest fucking little boys thing. This has been going on for decades. They don't do anything about it. But now we have billionaires supporting it. Amazing. But we'll be talking more about that in the upcoming weeks on Moohead Radio, because I won't ignore the stories about the total lack of moral fiber that's presently in society that's being promoted by the wealthiest people in the world. Somebody's got to talk about it. Might as well be a cow because nobody's listened to me for 24 years. So they're safe. God almighty.
There you go.
Cavaliers will be playing tomorrow, and that'll be a good game. And
Boston Celtics.
Yep, that's one that I know that all of us are looking forward to. And
Is
I
that
think both teams,
anyone know? Is that a TNT game or is that a fucking Fox? I mean, who does these national games? Because I don't know.
you know, I could take a look at that on this ESPN schedule
The
here.
ESPN or CBS?
That's TNT.
Yep, big boy.
TNT.
Yeah,
so
it
that's
is.
like Doris Burke and Shaq and all that lot. And
Yeah.
Followed by Lakers Clippers.
oh, fucking! Of course, it's followed by the fucking Lakers.
So
Lakers,
at any
Clippers.
rate, yeah, 7:30 tomorrow on TNT, and that's going to be a game the whole world's watching. You know, and you know
Well,
that the
it'll be
Celtics are
on
coming
here.
in to look good, and the Celtics can have a really good road record. So you know,
First night of a second game of a back-to-back, it looks like.
Yeah, the Cavs play Wednesday as well.
Pistons, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it
Yeah,
doesn't
but we
get
know
any
what they
easier.
do, so that shouldn't be too bad of a problem. We know what they're going to play.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining me, Tony. Thank you, and Bronk. Thank you, and David.
All I gotta say in parting is I
problem.
hope that my moose thing will say 42-9 when we next meet again, instead of 40-9.
Pray together, you know.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back again on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Boo. Boo.